Hey everyone, it's Kane. I wanted to let you guys know I'm not going to be starting this episode out with a joke, and I wanted to give a bit of a trigger warning. The movie we're covering is 2019's Black Christmas. If you've never seen this movie, it does cover a lot of themes about sexual assault in a college setting. So, if that's not something that you want to hear, please skip over this episode. And I just want to assure everyone that while we may have some humor between us during this episode, we do take this topic seriously. And obviously, I may not be the right person to talk through these things, but again, I did just want to start the episode off with that. So, back to the episode. Welcome back to Not Another Needless Sequel, where we watch movies and propose unnecessary prequels, sequels, reboots, and remakes. My name is Kane. With me, as always, is my co-host and wife, Kelsey.
Ho, ho, ho. I didn't know anything about this movie before we watched it.
This week, we watched 2019's Black Christmas. So what do you think the story was?
Oh boy. This is a story about people at a college called Hawthorne College, and there's a fraternity who will sexually assault women, and they believe that men are superior and they are going to kill any woman who doesn't fall into the line with what their male ideals are.
The movie starts off with showing you a girl being followed, and she's also talking on the phone with her sorority, and they're trying to figure out where she is. During that scene, there's actually a quick shot of a glass unicorn spike on the table, which when I saw it, I said it to you that was definitely going to be used. But it's also a callback to the glass unicorn weapon from the original 1974 Black Christmas. So she is in fact being followed by a guy in a black mask and like a black outfit. He's listed as the Black Mask Killer in like the credits and stuff, and that's the first kill of the movie. And this becomes a thing that is happening around the college, but
I think it was confusing for me, especially at first, because the people that she's talking to on the phone and that you meet initially are not the main characters of the movie.
yeah.
After her murder, it flashes to different people, and I don't think I realized it. We're like, did time pass? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because they just casually mentioned this girl named Lindsay was murdered.
That's what we thought, but it's not that. It's that they say that they haven't seen her, and then like it was very recent. Like
Yeah.
the next thing we see is possibly like the next day,
Yeah.
and we're meeting the main character, probably Riley Stone, and she unfortunately you can see through a bunch of things that happen that she was sexually assaulted by a member of this fraternity. She has already spoken out about it, and nothing happened.
Nobody believed her.
Yeah.
And so she's completely changed as a person. She used to be outgoing and other things, kind of like some other people in the sorority, and they just casually mention that. And now, like for instance, at the beginning, she's putting on a t-shirt, and it's like a v-neck t-shirt, and she changes and covers up like her arms and her neck entirely.
I didn't even notice that, honestly, but yeah, stuff like that. Unfortunately, like that's a reality for some people that nothing happens, and you see her just living with that within her sorority, and all her sorority sisters know and understand that. So on top of that, one of her sorority sisters, Chris, is outside of this classroom that's being run by this guy, Professor Gelson. Immediately, you could just tell this guy was a huge prick in the classroom.
You already knew he was going to be involved with everything.
Yeah, and so Chris has actually got a petition going to get him fired, which he mentions and brings up in class, which is super fucking awkward.
He says that it's not his fault that these things were written. He's just required to teach them.
And Chris already got a petition that went through that was to remove a bust of the founder of the college, Calvin Hawthorne, from this main hall area. So, she's trying to get this petition going. You see her outside of class, like she's very active in the school in that sense. So, the sorority is getting ready and have been practicing to go to this talent show that's taking place at this fraternity, DKO. They go to this talent show, and you don't know it until they go ahead and put on the show, but they're singing a song that is calling out all of the rape culture going on at this fraternity.
Yeah, so what the fraternity does is they slip women the date rape drug and then rape them so they don't fight back, I guess.
Riley, the main character, was kind of guiding the girls on the song and stuff. She wasn't going to be a part of it. She ends up stepping in because there's another woman named Helene, I believe, that is in the sorority, and she is too drunk to perform, but
He's also been roofied.
I don't remember. I'm not saying they didn't, but I don't remember seeing them ever actually.
I guess that, I mean, we didn't see that happen. I just assumed after listening to the song. Basically, Riley saves her from being sexually assaulted, though.
Yes, and so, but she can't perform in the song, so Riley steps up to do it. It's kind of a uncomfortable moment for her because the man that assaulted her happens to be visiting.
Even though he's graduated.
Yeah, that's a weird, gross thing. And, you know, she has like a moment of panic about it, but she is able to compose herself and perform the song. But there's no time for that because they're getting text messages from, it's like listed as Calvin Hawthorne, has like a picture of the bust.
All while they're preparing for what they call their orphan dinner. And it's just like they either don't have parents or they don't go home for Christmas.
So several of the girls have left the house, but the girls remaining, like I said, they're getting these text messages threatening them, and it all leads to the girls at the sorority house are kind of initially being picked off one by one before an all-out attack. I did want to say the scene where the girl is looking for her cat around the sorority.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good scene. Like the way that it was shot, it's from this weird almost security camera angle where you can see the whole steps and the whole house is dark because there's nobody there. And so she's like opening doors and it's letting the sun shine in. But you don't know where this dude is and you're watching it like looking into these dark corners, just staring, waiting for him to be there. He's not really in any of the dark corners. He ends up coming out of a room, but the scene causes a lot of dread while she's looking for this cat.
Yeah.
This sorority house that they're at as well, the address of it was 1974 Elm Road, which is both a reference to the year of the original 1974 Black Christmas and, of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And then that cat that I was just talking about, there was this piece of trivia on here. It said, the cat originally meant to play Claudette, dropped out of filming when the trainer's mother fell ill. As a result, production borrowed an untrained house cat, which Imogen Poots, who played Riley, claimed was difficult to work with, which in my head, I was like, well, she just, I mean, unless there was a scene they had to cut out, but she was just walking away, and that was the whole scene. So I don't, was it that bad?
I don't know. Maybe
But
she's
it was
just not a cat person.
Yeah. Anyway, they are directly attacked at the sorority house by this black mass killer, and it also reveals that there's more than one of them. They are fighting back. This guy's shooting arrows in sorority house.
One of them is killed upstairs. There's multiple people in the house.
Yeah, a few of them are killed.
And then another one is shot in the stomach. But she kind of calls 911 initially.
Yeah, she ends up calling them, and the cops contact the security on campus, which it was some prick that she tried to kind of tell what she thought was going on earlier in the movie. He doesn't fucking listen, which again is another thing that's a shitty reality for people. But when they were fighting back, like, they end up realizing that
it's not just them, it's all the sorority houses.
Yes, and that scene to me was really good because it calls back to the beginning what we were talking about where we didn't know why it showed a different girl in a different sorority. Yeah. And it's because it's happening all around, and like you suddenly see this cop bust in the door of what you think is the sorority house of Riley and Chris and the characters we've been following, and it's that same sorority from the beginning, and they're using that glass unicorn and like stabbing one of the killers. And at that moment you know it all turns on, like, oh shit, this is the whole fucking college. This isn't just like a targeted thing.
Yeah, and all of the guys have like these black things on their faces and they're all possessed, which you find out once the girls do fight back. They go to the frat house.
Yeah, so at the frat house you see the bus that Chris actually wanted removed. They end up saying that they found something in it. They don't really get into that any further, but it's like leaking black out of the eyes, and they're using this in some way to control people. There's even a guy named Landon who is kind of a love interest of Riley's in a way, but he ends up acting completely different, and it's showing just that he's being controlled by them as well. And
it's a big all-out brawl.
Well, yeah, I mean, they end up getting or fighting back because all the other sorority houses that I guess Chris could get a hold of and get in contact with show up to save Riley, and they have weapons, so they fight back, which leads to the entire frat house that they're in burning down, and they get out and they lock in all the remaining people in there. There was actually supposed to be a shot in the movie of Professor Gelson on fire that had to be removed for the PG-13 rating because it was deemed too intense.
Fuck that guy. Sorry.
I kind of feel with the content of the movie, maybe you
I
let that
agree.
one slide.
I agree. I know that we're kind of glossing over a lot of it, but a lot of the movie is just, I expected it to be more of a girl power movie than it was, I guess, because the entire movie is about like redemption and all of this, and I understand the plot, like, you know, the sexual assault thing, and then women aren't believed, and I understand all of that. So this movie was kind of a downer. So I don't understand why a man being on fire is just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not PG-13. Like, I don't know if I'd want to show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I'd show a 13-year-old this in general, but
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a weird thing for me because it's like there is disgusting realities of the world that you do want people to know about,
And
but
be educated on. I just don't know I'd use a movie to do it.
yeah. One thing about this movie, well, before we get to like my rating and stuff, this movie was not liked by a lot of people. But early on, when this movie first had its trailer, they received a lot of backlash because the trailer apparently had an extreme number of spoilers in it. And so when I read that, I went to go watch the trailer, and it does just give you the whole movie. Like, the only thing I think was kept a secret by the trailer is Professor Gelson being involved. And you know, who
He's
cares?
like a side character anyway. And like Riley technically does get her quote revenge on the guy because she kills him, but it's almost like the damage has already been done.
I mean, I
I don't know. I only rated this movie a 2 out of 5.
gave it a 3.5. Like, I think there are scenes that I think when we're touching on it being a horror movie that were scary. Like I mentioned the cat thing. There's also, I kind of laughed at it at the time, but there's a scene where the woman's in the attic and she's trying to find a Christmas light that will work.
Oh, yeah.
And she keeps plugging in. And the whole time I was laughing because the killer's in there waiting as she plugs in one Christmas light or set of Christmas lights that doesn't work, two sets of Christmas lights that don't work. And then on the third one, when that one works, he's like, well, now's my chance.
Yeah.
You could have done this at any time. I don't know why you're waiting.
Could have just saved her the trip.
But you know, if you've ever been in a dark room, like there is a sense of dread sometimes. Like, what if something is in here that's you know that I don't know about?
I don't know. I just felt I mean I did touch on this before. I thought it was gonna be more of a girl power movie. And granted, maybe this is me. I'd never seen this movie, never heard of this movie, never anything. And so when it opened the way it did, I was like,
Yeah.
I just don't think I was mentally prepared to watch a movie like that. And I also don't think that they did a great job highlighting all of the aspects of it. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Okay, so I have 5 different reviews of movies that are very low ratings in
I need
Rotten
to know
Tomatoes.
what the Rotten Tomatoes on this was. Do you remember?
I don't. I'm sorry.
Can't be that high.
I didn't look up this on Rotten Tomatoes, but I looked at the reviews for it on Letterboxd. I mean, all these reviews I have here are from Letterboxd.
I'm gonna look it up. You give me 3 seconds.
Okay. People, like I said, didn't like this movie. I'm not a professional movie critic, but I feel like people had a hate for it being modern. A lot of people talked about the dialogue of it being like cringy, and I don't feel that. I mean, when this came out,
it got a 40%. That's what I gave it, a 40 technically.
So this came out in 2019. We were done with college, but I didn't feel like I was like, what are these kids saying? Like, they sounded normal to me.
Yeah, they did.
It wasn't like, if you ever go back and watch something like a Mary-Kate and Ashley movie, or they had Miley Cyrus do a few movies like that
So
early
Undercover, I think is the name.
Yes.
I've never seen it.
You watch those, and you're like, nobody has ever spoken like this.
Mary-Kate and Ashley, don't you say that.
Anyway, here's the movies that I have here. I have movie 43, The Master of Disguise, Jack and Jill, Black Christmas, and Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you the review, and you just can guess which movie it goes with.
Okay.
A random man stormed into the theater yelling, "The fuck is this movie?" and then walked out 5 minutes later saying, "What the fuck? Is this not Jumanji?"
Okay, keep going.
Number 2 is Pacino is so good in this.
Is that Jack and Jill?
Yes. I mean, that one, if you remembered, Al Pacino was in it, of course, it's Jack and
Jill.
Jill.
Yeah.
But that was...
He was such a small part of that movie.
Okay. A childhood favorite. Elementary school wasn't the same after this movie hit the playground.
That's The Master of Disguise.
Yes, that review actually went on to go and say, my teachers couldn't stand me walking around saying, this is what you're doing, this is what I want you to do.
Or you're not turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
Okay, number 4, unrelease this.
That's either Black Christmas or Winnie the Pooh.
It's Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh. I figured. I mean, listen, you don't do my man's Eeyore like
it's
that.
Winnie the
and
Pooh,
get
Blood
away
and
with
Honey,
it.
just so everyone's clear.
You don't do my man's Eeyore like that and get away with it.
I think he's coming back in the sequel.
Yeah, for revenge.
Number 5 is I paid $3.99 to rent this. Happy 420, everyone. Of the remaining movies, just consider what a stoner might watch.
I know. I mean, a stoner would watch movie 43.
Yeah. Okay.
But why does it say this is not Jumanji? that makes no. That's why I was like, can you go on? Because it didn't make sense with like the Master of Disguise was the only thing I could think like.
You'd have to think
they
of what
may
came
get
out at the same
confused.
time, and so that was one of the newer Jumanji movies.
Oh yeah.
I just
you're
imagine
right.
sitting in that theater and being like, I don't know, this isn't like the Jumanji I remember. This.
And it turns out it's because they're in the wrong theater.
My God.
It's so good.
Okay. Well, you know, this movie is, of course, like I said, it's a remake of the 1974 Black Christmas. There was another Black Christmas remake in 2006, but there hasn't ever been a sequel, really. So, what's your sequel?
So mine's called Black Christmas: Hawthorne's Revenge. I took inspiration from Halloween Town Calabar's Revenge
Okay.
for the title, not
Okay.
for the plot.
Okay. I was hoping the sorority turned to a coven of witches and
Yeah.
took out. That might have been a good one. I didn't do
Toss a
that.
coin to your witches, oh valley of plenty.
That's a different.
What's the other one? The Agatha
Down,
song.
down the road.
Down, down the road, down the witch's road.
That song's a bop.
That song is a bop. I'd love to, that'd be so cool on Beat Saber.
Yeah, it would.
We should see if you can find it. Alright, so this is the direct sequel.
Okay.
Roughly 10 years has passed since the girls survived Christmas and killed all of the frat boys. The three of them have remained friends, but do not talk often about what happened that night at Hawthorne. Flash to Hawthorne, and a few girls have gone missing yet again. The police are worried the fraternity cult has returned based on the recent reinstatement of the Hawthorne statue on campus grounds. Once a few girls from Riley and Chris's old sorority go missing, they start to research the past. The girls end up finding out this has happened before, and a group of women fought back and survived against the men. They actually contact Riley, and she agrees to meet with them, reluctantly so, but she doesn't want the same thing to happen to them that happened to her and her friends. After meeting with them, it's Riley who starts getting texts saying she and her family are the next ones to be murdered. With this in mind, she calls a distant friend from high school, Sydney Prescott.
God damn it.
Sydney makes her way to Hawthorne to help an old friend, as she has experienced this kind of thing many times before.
Good Lord. Is this where she was during Scream 5?
Maybe. I thought it was Scream 6.
I don't remember
It
now.
doesn't matter. Anyway, first thing, she has Riley send her family away as a means to protect them. If you remember, this is what Sydney did in Scream 4.
I think
Because it was a reason to explain why Patrick Dempsey wasn't there, because Patrick Dempsey was with their daughter.
I sent the cop away so he could be safe.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Next, Sydney and Riley start investigating who it could be, but it's too late. The mass murders of the sorority house began that night. Sydney and Riley buckle up and start saving others. Riley and Sydney are both subdued by a new man they've never met before, and it's Hawthorne's great-grandson to fulfill the great Hawthorne's name and continue the oppression of women. He explains she has to be killed because she was the original woman who stood up to the men, and women shouldn't be allowed to do so. So in order to lift the curse, Riley must die. As Riley is about to be killed, Sydney saves the day, and Riley delivers the finishing blow. The movie ends with the destruction of the statue and Riley thanking Sydney. They both reunite with their families, and the future shows Hawthorne's college name was changed.
Nice. I like that ending, for sure.
Thank you.
I like that they changed the name of the college.
Did you like that Scream crossover?
Yeah, I like the way it felt like a Fast and Furious movie where they went and got their friends.
Family. If
Okay.
only Gail Weathers was there to report.
My sequel is called Black Christmas Winter Wonderland.
Oh.
You know, sometimes I write a title and then I don't do anything that has to do with the title. So, sorry.
It's okay.
We see the frat house burning down as the women from the first film watch. 5 years later, we see the girls have moved on with their lives, surprisingly, with the exception of Riley and Chris, who have focused on speaking at colleges across the country about the experience and selling a book about that night and their survival.
I feel like it's still moving on.
Yeah, in a way, for sure.
Yeah.
Many women have found their story helpful, and so they have not had any problem booking places to speak. As Christmas time approaches, they receive an invite to a weekend-long Christmas event/fundraiser for a sorority. Once at the event and settled in, they notice a distinct lack of women at the event, but remain open-minded. Things get worse when they attend a dinner for the event, and it starts with a quote from Calvin Hawthorne, the founder of their old alma mater.
Ew.
Man possesses powers so formidable that they can only be considered supernatural. With a proper education, men can wield these powers and go forth into the world.
Oh yeah, that is at the very opening of the Black Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riley and Chris get up and leave the dinner, but on their way to the door, they are stopped by several men dressed in the same black mask outfits they've seen before. Riley and Chris announce they've had enough of this and it isn't funny while pulling off the mask of the person in front of them. They are horrified to see the person under the mask is a burnt and disfigured Professor Gelson. Before they can speak more, people enter the room dressed in the same outfit and lock the doors. They begin removing their masks, and while there are many new faces, Riley and Chris also see more of the DKO fraternity that they watched burn alive. It turns out the DKO frat had many chapters around the country, and the events in Riley and Chris's past were just a trial run. Not only that, but the members of the fraternity explain how they've gained the ability to resurrect their members, so it's futile to even fight back. Riley and Chris have heard this before and they aren't buying it. During this long-winded speech, they have made note of their surroundings and have noticed one frat member in particular holding an ancient-looking diary clearly belonging to Calvin Hawthorne, filled with strange symbols.
You went Chamber of Secrets on us.
I was going more just kind of that trope of like fraternities having like I was almost thinking of Wednesday.
Oh yeah.
Sorta. I mean, they've done that same thing before in movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, Riley and Chris wait for the opportune moment and surprise the member, knocking him down and grabbing the book. Panic spreads across the frat member's face as they try and pretend that the diary doesn't matter. But Riley and Chris have also done plenty of research on Calvin Hawthorne since that fateful night, and they know what to do. They light the diary on fire and let it burn, causing the resurrected members of the frat to collapse, and the rest panic as their plans unfold before them. We cut to several months later and see on the news that the remaining frat members are going on trial for their crimes, and Riley and Chris are now using their platform to ask people affected by them to come testify and speak out about their experiences.
I like that. It's good.
Well, I tried to kind of keep that theme too. I feel weird saying it
I
because
feel like we both did keep the thing of giving the men the finger.
I think, like, you know, I tried to make a point of saying, like, that they're asking women to come forward now and speak.
Yeah.
Who probably haven't spoken before. And again, I don't know. It's weird for me to be the person saying it or talking about it, but I think what the original, or, you know, the 2019 movie did, I think it was important, even though people hated it and some people feel that it was done in a poor way. But
yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We do so appreciate it. If you want to talk movies with us, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Letterboxd, Threads, and Twitter. We are NansPod everywhere.
NansPod?
If you'd like to vote on whose sequel idea was the best, come by our YouTube channel for the polls, or let us know your idea with a comment, tweet, or you can reach us at needlesssequel@gmail.com. Links, as always, will be wherever you are listening. If I could ask you for one thing, it's to share a show with someone and leave us a review. That is how we get new listeners. Of course, I also ask that you come back for more Needless Sequels. Next week, we're watching RoboCop on Max.
Wee woo, wee woo.
Today, I want to close with a line from Reese Witherspoon's character, Elle Woods, from Legally Blonde.
Oh, is it the graduation speech?
You must always have faith in people, and most importantly, you must always have faith in yourself.
Yep.
Take care of yourselves, everyone. We will see you next week.
Congratulations, class of 2007. We did it! Bye!